Hi, I'm Darlene Carmen.
And I'm Doug Carmen.
Welcome to the show. Anjal Pong's original one-of-a-kind pieces are made by traditional Hawaiian cultural practices. Her inspiration comes from 12 years of hula dancing and nature. So she's going to show us how she creates her designs using handmade and origami paper and a knife. We will also see her make a leg. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Darlene, for having me.
Now, besides being an artist and being a dancer, you're also a nurse.
Yes.
So do you think that being in the operating room, you have learned skills there that has helped you in your art?
You know, it's probably the opposite. Probably being an artist helps me be a better operating room nurse.
Oh,
it's kind of interesting.
Training your hands.
Exactly. It kind of helps me. I'm really, I have a lot of attention to detail, which helps me in my job. So I've always been artistic my whole life, and that's probably maybe what led me to nursing. You know, I kind of have different coping mechanisms, which helps me to work in a stressful environment.
Yes, yes. How long have you been a nurse?
Going on 14 years. Wow. Yeah, a long time.
Wow.
Well, you have a lot of designs. There's one, some of your work here. Why don't you tell us about it and maybe show us some of your work?
So I get a lot of requests for commission pieces. As you know, Darlene, that's how I met you at an art and wine festival, and you asked me for a hula girl, which is this piece right here.
This is
and
great.
I don't usually, you know, I like to have people give me an image or colors or something kind of general, and I like to be creative and do my own thing. So here, she wanted a hula dancer, which I did. So I kind of did a silhouette, because I don't really like to do, I'm not used to doing people, but I did an image of a dancer. She's got a tea leaf lei, and it's a first one, and I think it turned out rather nice. So I might start doing this one.
I'm thrilled. I'm really thrilled to be the first.
I get a lot of inspiration, of course, from images in hula and Hawaiian, because I'm a dancer, but also from my kids. So this whale here is, my kids love sea creatures, so I'm always surrounded by books, and we go to the aquarium. So those are kind of inspirations. This is monstera leaves, kind of symbolic of maybe a couple. You know, it's kind of whatever image that kind of provokes for you, kind of meaningful. And Hawaii is, of course, popular. This is kind of the islands. Each of the islands have specific colors. This is a commissioned piece that I did a bird of paradise for somebody, a bigger one, and I liked it, so I did something smaller. So I get a lot of ideas from people who make requests. And this is a pueo, which is a Hawaiian short-eared owl.
I thought it was an owl.
Yeah, it's an owl. And it was so popular. I know owls are kind of a craze right now. So I started doing more owls, and they're really, really popular. They actually sell out really fast. So this is an image. I like to take the realistic image and then do the creative part with the colors and the background. That's kind of using the papers to kind of keep the image kind of realistic, but then make it more artistic with the colors and the paper.
The texture on that work, was that from the paper, or did you add?
It's kind of from the paper. It's layering. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And it's kind of very textured and layered.
Okay.
So that's why I put everything behind glass, because they are pretty fragile and mounted in the matte frame. And then this one is just a flower. I kind of just freehand. I just kind of just was keeping myself busy when
a made-up flower, or
just a made-up? Yeah, I just kind of freehand. I just kind of started cutting, and that's what I came up with. So
nice.
So beautiful designs.
Thank you.
Let's see, and you have some of the materials here.
I do.
So let's see what you're going to show us.
Yeah, I'm going to show you how I
create
start.
Some of these
So
fantastic designs.
I got a request to do a maile lei, and that is kind of a traditional lei from Hawaii. And like I said, I like to use the realistic images from nature. So this is a book about leis, and this is a maile lei. So it twists, and leaves have different shapes, and I try to do a realistic depiction so people know at least what the shape is, and it's very specific to Hawaii. So then I take the image and I do a sketch. I use black paper or sometimes colored, but it has to be kind of thin enough so I can cut very precisely. and I'll do the sketch first, and then I'll do my cuts. And what I usually use is a very basic knife. These are my tools.
Exacto knife.
Exacto knife.
Scalpel.
Not
pencil.
one for surgery. Let's hope.
Yeah. So, yeah, just very simple. I do the cuts, and I just kind of do a general sketch. I don't really follow exactly the lines. I kind of just generally just kind of follow.
The wind blows. And
Yeah, exactly. I just follow kind of my.
how often you change those blades. I bet a
Depends
lot.
on the kind of paper I'm using and how big of a piece it is. But yeah, you're right. A sharp knife makes for better cutting and more precise. And I usually will cut the image on the back because then when you look at the front, you don't see the pencil marks, and it also makes the cut very precise when you cut from the back. So that's kind of
Hold that up a little bit.
Yeah.
You look at that. Upside down, of course.
backwards.
Or maybe it's not.
It's not. It's actually just backwards. So that's how I go. I continue to cut, and then once I've, depending on what I'm trying to go for. So like this is an example of a jellyfish, and I've done the cuts, and then I do, if you can see the first layer, that's origami paper. So then I will layer the paper underneath, and then I'll do a cut again.
I have a question. Origami paper.
Yes.
What makes it unique or different?
It's
Is it-
thinner, so
Thinner?
it comes in a multitude of colors. It's also really easy to cut. That's why I use origami paper. It's
I
thin
thought
to
maybe it
cut.
has something to do with it holds its folds better.
No, because I don't do any folding. It's basically so that I can cut it very precisely.
So it's compact paper then.
Yeah, it's very
Very-
thin,
very
and it comes in
high-grade
all
paper.
kinds of beautiful colors.
Oh.
And so you can see here the yellow is actually the origami paper.
Yes,
So I layered that from
outline.
underneath, then I cut the yellow, and then this here is another type of Japanese paper. And then I will layer this underneath that, and then create the image.
Wow.
So this one,
I got to take a look. Just like,
this one just has the origami paper. And then I'm kind of figuring out, this is what my favorite part to do is figure out what paper to use. So then I've decided to go for this one here, and then this one is kind of a shimmery paper.
now, is this handmade paper? Or
You know, it's not. So I do use some handmade papers, but I basically go for the color. This one's very textured, which is nice for something
yes,
like this.
Beautiful for that. Oh.
Yeah, so then I put this here, and then this one is very shimmery, and I made these small little cuts there.
Oh, yeah.
So when you put that underneath, it looks quite
Oh,
beautiful.
yes. It just looks like it's moving,
Yeah.
too.
So that's
A
where
lot
I
of
like
it.
to get creative. I like to choose different kinds of papers and match different colors. And
Does this help with the stress in your work? I'm sure it does.
yeah, stress at work, stress with kids. It definitely, I kind of just start cutting, and I'm just in a whole different mindset, and keep my knife away from my kids. So. And I use glue. Basically, I just glue the paper and cut. I mean, it's very kind of simple tools I have. And then I like to mount it in a mat so that it kind of frames it nicely. And then tape it up, centered it, and then I put it in a frame. Like I said, they're pretty fragile, so you don't want people touch. They could get messed up if you touch it, or so they're all mounted under glass.
How did you learn how to do this?
I just started doing. I was looking at a card making magazine, and it said. I think it's called Mola technique, and it's paper cutting, and it was just doing how to making cards, and I just kind of took it off. It took off on its own, and I made it my own. And then with the inspiration of hula and dancing and my kids, and I just started kind of specializing in those kind of subjects. So I've done a lot of commission pieces for my fellow
Yeah.
hula dancers and gifts for people.
Well, this is a unique art. I remember only one time at an art and wine festival, we found a man. We never got him on the show, but we found a man that did paper cutting work, and it was so intricate. But I like yours. I don't think his had much color, if I remember.
No.
It's so long ago. But I like the color, having the color. Tell me about some of the handmade paper. Is this one of...
This is called Japanese washi paper, And they print these in sheets. It's quite expensive because it is handmade. The paper itself is not handmade, but they will print by hand.
Yes.
And they print it by the sheet, and I buy it by the sheet. I go to Flax, which has the best selection of paper in the city. Each sheet it can range up to $20 a sheet. So, I obviously don't use too much, so it doesn't cost me that much to cut this little piece. And I use a light box so that I can I'll put the light box underneath, and then I'll put the paper on top so that I can just cut enough of what I need, so I don't kind of estimate and waste paper.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have a light box. I
Yeah.
love it.
trace around the image that I need,
Yes.
cut it out, and so I don't waste paper. Learn little tricks.
So what is the most lavish design you've ever done?
So I was commissioned to do actually a statue of a Cambodian dancer by one of my colleagues, and it was a wooden statue, and he wanted something for his office. He's a surgeon. He wanted me to do probably as big as this board, and I said, I've never done anything that big, but I love a challenge. I love new subjects.
Yeah.
It turned out beautiful, and it was a little challenging because of the space, and I couldn't have my kids touching it, and that was probably the most intricate. She had a very detailed costume and her headpiece, and it came out really nicely.
Oh, man. So that you probably have pictures, but not with us today.
I do have pictures. I don't know if we're able to get to those, but I did bring pictures.
Did you check with Gopher or they're not? Maybe they're not in the right format.
They're not in the right format.
That's probably
so, yeah.
Well, anyway, so that was your biggest piece.
Yeah, that was my biggest, probably the most challenging. Yeah.
So where do you expect to be going with this art? You want to expand in a different direction? How long has it been now doing this?
I've been doing this for about 2 years, and my technique
2
has
years.
really gotten a lot better as far as the cutting and the detail. And I know what kind of glue is the best. I know how to layer, which layer should go first. So I've gotten to be pretty good at knowing how to do something, to make it look the best. And I've also gotten a lot faster. So people were surprised at how fast I can make something. I can probably finish this couple hours if I just work on it steadily.
Well, this is a beautiful art. Thank you for
you.
sharing it with us. I've never seen anything like this before.
you.
And I love the jellyfish, and I also love your turtle. On your website, you have more
Thank you. Those are
designs
very
on it.
popular, so they've all been sold.
Yeah, very, very nice. Well, let's see. The other aspect, there's several aspects of you, but hula dancing.
Yes.
So we have a clip of that. Let's see the clip.
continues.
So where was that first one performed, the first number?
That was at City Hall in San Francisco. As part of the World Arts West, they do a series of dancers at City Hall, and we were part of that.
And the second one?
The second one was our own production, and that was a traditional Kahiko number that I was doing on the floor.
What is the troupe called?
We're called Halau Okekiali'i, and it's based in South San Francisco. I've been dancing. My teacher is Kumu Kavika Alfici, and I've been with him for about 13, 14 years.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, I love the leis and the costumes, and we would love to see you make a lei.
I just happen to bring all my stuff. So traditionally, you put all your stuff on a mat. You don't put it on the floor. You don't step over it. It's kind of the energy you put into things that you make is what you get out of it. So you don't want to ever have anything negative in your mind, or your intention is always should be good, because it will, come out in your lei and make things frustrated for you and so forth. So I brought tea leaf, which is this right here, and it's probably imported from Hawaii. These are kind of, they grow in big palms, and you take the size, this is the rib, the backing, so you don't want that. So you just basically rip or cut the sides. And then to make it soft so that you can work with it, you can either freeze it, you can iron it, you could put it in the microwave to make it soft and pliable. Yeah, there's many tricks of the trade. And I just brought orchids. These are also imported, but they're very hardy. They're easy to work with. They have a nice stem that can be put into the lei and stay put. A lot of times when you see leis kind of just with orchids, they'll string them, and that's kind of one way of doing it, but they also kind of, when the orchids wilt, they kind of hang and get droopy, and this is one little trick that keeps them all in place and makes it really nice. This is a tea leaf lei that I had that dried, so this also will dry very nicely. And I will just kind of demonstrate. Traditionally, this is how my kumu taught me, so this is what we do. So you tie a knot, and then we put it between our toes. We're all kind of gathered around. And you basically twist the leaf, and it's called vili, which means twisting in Hawaiian, and you kind of twist out and over like so. And then when you're ready to put in orchid, you kind of put it in there, and then you kind of wrap the stem in it. And then so it's
kind of a braiding thing.
Sort of like a braiding, yeah. And you kind of wrap the stem in it so it's hidden. So like so. And since I've been doing this for a long time, I got to be pretty fast.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the trick is to make it nice and neat, and there's a certain length you want to do. And we can also use this for your hair or around.
And they stay. They're going to stay.
Oh yeah, they're not going anywhere. And this will dry really nicely. If you leave this in the fridge, it'll last for a really long time. So apart from doing art, I also love to do flowers, and I have requests, like if people have a Hawaiian themed wedding or things like that. I do lays, and I can make
Centerpieces and
centerpieces.
Also for the hair. For the
Definitely for
dance.
the hair. I love to do kind of tropical, but Hawaiian style arrangements using different types of orchids and leaves. And a lot of things that we use for our group are found actually on the street. I mean, you don't have to go buy, there's a lot of native plants that we use that grow on the land.
Plumeria.
Do the leaves, the large tea leaves, do they grow in this area?
Yes, they do.
We
They
have some in our yard.
We do?
Uh-oh. Now you're going to have to go home and make a lei.
What do I know? Here.
My Hawaiian friend, though, told me that I wasn't watering it enough, and she
Yeah,
said it
they-
should be really, really, really huge. But the snails or something, whatever eats it.
Yeah, they kind of take a lot of water, and
Lot
they
of
like
water.
sun. They're tropical plants, but they do grow well here as long as you take care of
But
them.
they're hardy.
They're very
It
hardy.
survives, even though it's not pretty like yours,
Are
and
you-
it might be a different variety.
Are you watching this? Because I want to see you do this with our,
You want me to take off my shoes? You
Yeah,
are
we
quite
do lei
fast.
making
put those
classes.
leaves to work.
See, I've gotten to be fast. So when you want to add on a leaf, I
Yeah.
just kind of
Fold it in.
join it. Yeah, fold it in, and
Wow.
and then this will be.
I've never seen one made like this. This is an unusual technique.
Yeah, it's more.
How many different techniques are there to make leis?
There are many different kinds. So there's also another vili where you group them together around a sort of a base, and then you wind it, and that's kind of another style of lei making. That's kind of more for the head pieces and yeah. So I made these other. I think you saw me wear my head. We make those as well, and everything that we use for dancing, we make ourselves. So it kind of makes you appreciate it a little
So
bit
your
more.
drums, or you probably don't call them that. You probably have a fancy name for it.
So the little one there is a ponyu, and that's made out of a coconut.
Coconut.
And that is skin.
That's
Traditionally
fascinating. I think weren't you going to show us how to make a centerpiece? I believe.
No.
No.
Oh, that's easy. Anybody could do that. This is kind of.
But you use some of the flowers, but also probably any flowers that you can get.
I like to be creative. I can, people have budgets. Of course, weddings are very expensive, so you can do a lot with a little bit of, little flowers and getting creative with greenery and things that grow around the land. You can make a beautiful lei with bottle brush. I don't know if you've ever seen
Yes,
that.
yes.
You can make beautiful things out of that. You can
Wow.
get very creative. So
Right.
this will,
Yes.
you could put this in your hair. So this is kind of, I will make it up to here.
And you could
can-
probably let the leaves show or dangle. That would be another way that
Yes,
you would. Yeah.
you could have. I could have them stick out. Or I've cut pieces of this and had them stick out, so it's more kind of greenery for a male, if you know.
So when you make your bridal arrangements and so forth, how do you go about doing that? Do you negotiate the type of flowers? Or
Yeah,
you
because
show
some brides are
pictures?
very they're set on a certain type of flower, which may or may not be expensive, or they're flexible and they let me kind of do whatever I want. It's their day, so I work with them and really do what they want. And budget is a big one. So of course, flowers are very expensive, especially orchids, and they're a little tricky to work with. But if you know how to work with them, and you know how long they're going to last, and you can make it work.
Are the techniques similar when you're making your centerpieces?
It depends on what kind of centerpieces people want. I've strung leis and I've put them in glass cylinders if they want that kind of a tropical look. I've made things like this.
Can we see this up a little bit closer?
And you could wrap it around something.
Where would somebody learn how to make leis? Guess they have to be pretty flexible toes or start young. Because my toes are so stiff, I couldn't open it.
And mine are so bent.
The ones you probably buy are not. People make them different ways, and they probably aren't.
But they do have places
You can buy them, yeah. Mostly strung. They kind of use.
That's really
Well,
strong,
yeah.
though. It's like rope.
Yeah,
feel that. It's like, this definitely feels, I would think raffia or something like that. It's like
It's
that'll
certainly not
last
going
a
to
long time. Yeah.
break. Yeah, it's very strong.
very, very strong. Oh, that's just, wow. Now you have 2 children. Have they learned how to dance and do this? And
Well,
do
my
their
daughter
art?
is a ballet. She loves ballet. She's 6 years old, and she is quite the dancer. And my son has actually taken on art. He is a drawer. He draws all the time. So they are both very artistic in their own ways. And
Your son, is he interested in learning your technique?
you know, I don't want them to handle a knife, so they will.
Oh, they're too young. for
They're a
that.
little young for, yeah, my son is 7. So
Oh,
right
yes.
now he'll start with this pencil,
You don't
and then maybe he'll
cutting
work
up
up
the
to a
furniture.
knife in a few years.
That's nice that they are interested, though,
Yes, very
in
much.
following what you're doing.
Yeah.
That is just gorgeous. So,
Thank you.
wow. So you are just, I don't see how, you work full time.
Can you believe it? Yes, I work 4 days a week, yeah, full time. And dancing, I practice dance. We have practice hula every Sunday for about 4 hours. If we have a show, it's sometimes more. And in between all that, I do this. Keeps me sane.
That's really amazing. Well, I've just really enjoyed watching all these beautiful techniques that you do, and I'm sure that everybody out there has enjoyed watching. It just makes you want to try something like this, you know?
Yeah,
It's just
definitely.
beautiful. So thank you for sharing all
You're
this. I
welcome.
know on your website there's more art.
There's lots
and,
of art. I do commissioned work. Like I said, I love doing flowers because it's, you get your hand, I love getting my hands on things. And
Well, thank you for being
You're
here,
welcome.
and thank you for watching the show. And watch again. We always have a lot to show you.